Welcome to CyberAlert Podcast, your front line for uncovering the truth hidden with inside the digital realm. Today, we are diving into one of the most debated and misunderstood topics in technology, artificial intelligence. Is AI still the stuff of science fiction, or is it already deeply embedded within our daily lives? Join us as we break down the facts, bust the myth, and bring clarity to the conversation around AI. This is CyberAlert, and today we are demystifying artificial intelligence like never before. Stay tuned. Welcome back to CyberAlert, the podcast that is dedicated to keeping you informed, secure, and safe in an ever-evolving digital landscape. I am Sherwin, your host, and with me is my brilliant daughter, Alea, aka Cybergirl.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here and to be on this podcast in this episode talking about artificial intelligence. I love artificial intelligence and I like to see the intersectionality when it comes with cybersecurity. And so I personally am very excited for this podcast, and we can begin on what is AI and how can we even learn about AI?
Absolutely. I'm excited for this topic as well. We want to dedicate this episode to be able to demystify AI, to bring it clarity to AI, and start with the basics. We want to start with the basics so that our listeners will be able to understand the different facets of AI. So I have this question. What is AI?
So that's a good question to start with. What is AI? And so basically AI is artificial intelligence. It's the ability for machines to mimic human intelligence. So as humans, we do tasks. We do tasks like thinking, we understand different languages, and then also we make decisions. And all AI doing is doing all of those things. And it's just that it's not us humans doing it, it's the artificial intelligence on the machine that is doing it. And I also want to add to this also 4 goals of AI. Simple goals. The goal of AI is to think humanly, act humanly, think rationally, and act rationally.
So you're saying that with AI, we are training systems to try to think more like humans,
right?
To perform tasks that humans usually will normally perform, and make the kind of decisions that humans will normally make, and even understand the different languages that there are out there, whether it is English, whether it is German, French,
right,
Spanish. We are training these systems to be able to decipher all of these different languages out there.
Right.
And that is actually cool.
And just like us too, which makes our lives a little bit more easier. And then when we look at artificial intelligence, we can talk about how we always think about robots.
Right.
Or body AI, as some people may call it. And basically, it has this artificial general intelligence. And so robots come under AGI.
Wow, that is unbelievable. Because when I think about AI, you would think almost like something from a science fiction movie, right, where you see all of these. If you watch Star Wars, something like Star Wars, and you see all the different robot or iRobot, where you see all the different things that are happening inside there, but it's showing that these things were going to take over the world. So tell me, I know that we interact with AI every single day, and there's 2 types that I know that can you explain them? They call narrow AI and they call weak AI. Can you elaborate more on those 2 things?
Right, so the one that we talk about, which is the robot, is AGI, and that hasn't really been existed as yet. However, what we see on a daily basis is narrow AI, and that is to build to do one specific job. and it can do it really well. So it doesn't think or understand like how humans, but it just follows whatever, follows instructions or whatever it's trained to do. So a pretty great example of this particular AI will be Netflix. I mean, everyone watches Netflix. We all love Netflix, and for me, sometimes you will watch a particular show and then you will see a Netflix recommended saying that, okay, you should watch this particular show. So, like for instance, for me, I love police shows. So now, once I watch police shows, I'll see multiple police shows pop up on my Netflix suggestions. And then you see Siri. We oftentimes use Siri and also Google Assist, and so they help with us answering questions. And then email spam, where we use to block different things, different emails, and maybe put it inside our junk. So AI has been here since the 1950s, so it's always been around. It's just that we haven't really understood how it works, and just putting AI into a practical sense.
So this is crucial distinction. So when I go to Netflix and after watching all those, I too like these investigative
Shows, yeah, definitely.
and there's something exciting about those. And when I see after the completion of the shows, I note that they will say that here is a selection of things that we choose for you based on what you would have watched last time. So here it is that that's exactly what is happening. So that means that there's some algorithm that is in play so that it will be able to know our tastes.
So definitely. So let's think there's AI, and then under AI is machine learning. And so with machine learning, actually lets the computer to learn from experience without being told exactly what to do. So remember, like sometimes we would write rules for everything, right, but now we give the computer data. And then the system looks at that data and then finds different patterns on its own. So maybe over a period of time, based on the patterns that it created, this is how it makes predictions. Because to be honest, AI is about predictions. Literally everything about AI is making predictions. And so with the data actually helps the AI to be able to make better predictions. And then under the machine learning, there's many different types. I wouldn't go into details, but we have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and then also reinforcement learning. So there are the different subsets of machine learning, and people use them for many different things. I think for supervised learning is used for different stuff, and then unsupervised learning, then reinforcement learning. And for reinforcement learning is my favorite because it reminds me of a baby walking, and you're trying to learn how to do something over and over and over again.
So this is where things get really powerful. Machine learning algorithm can identify patterns in data that humans are unable to be able to identify, and what we may miss when we go through the different data pattern and try to identify certain things and make decisions. So AI can help us make predictions ahead of time and help assist in decision making.
Right.
Can you give us some examples where that this whole thing where we see AI actually happening, making these decisions and predicting certain things?
Right. So we talk a little bit about data, right? And so how we use like data to be able to predict. But I know there's often times where you can use images. So let's say you wanted to show the machine learning that there's a cat and a dog. You can show pictures to the machine learning that, okay, this is the cat and this is the dog. And then it will be able to make predictions like that. A great recent example is at Johns Hopkins University. There's actually a robot that named SRTH, and it did a gallbladder surgery. Very recent. And so basically no one can show them. All they did was use pictures and videos to show the actual model how to perform this particular surgery. And it went pretty well. So I think like stuff like this happens, especially when you look inside the hospital or when it comes to the medical field or the medical arena, you see a lot of robots and AI being used. So we see a lot of these things too also in the medical field. And I think it was just a few days ago when I read that. So it's very, very recent.
So I want our listeners to think about this for a moment. We heard that an AI performed a surgery without a human intervention. Now, I'm not sure about many of our listeners, but I don't know how comfortable I am with allowing a AI device to perform a surgery on me without that human intervention and that human thinking. But this is some of the things that we are seeing right now that's happening, which way the AI can help us with inside the operating theater. AI can help us in many of our job functions that we perform daily. And AI just seems to be all over the place, and we have to find a way to incorporate AI, or instead of being frightened of AI. So there's also about that all of this is so fascinating for me, just learning about AI and just going deep dive into AI. But there's something else that we have to touch on, that we often hear a term called deep learning. And how does deep learning fit within AI?
So deep learning is way more advanced. And so I list off like supervised learning, all of those. Deep learning is really more advanced than all of those. And so what the whole basis of deep learning is that it uses the example of our brain and the neurons in our brain. So it's inspired by that. And just like how the neurons in our brain pass a signal, it does the same thing when it comes to neural networks inside deep learning. So literally, to give an example of this, right, we look at when it has many layers. So we know a neural network, it has a lot of hidden layers. So we start off with the input layer. When you bring it, it's almost like a sensor. So it's like it brings in information from our world. So for us in real life, it will be probably like our eyes, ears, like our senses. And then we have the hidden layer, which would be our brain neurons. So we look at it as the processes, the information, and then find patterns, just like we talked about with the AI models. And then it's the output layer, it's your actions and your final result, or the decision that you make. So it's just like how your body reacts or how your brain works. This particular deep learning does the same exact thing.
Wow, this is so fascinating. And just to hear about all this thing with AI, and just realize that we are just really touching the surface of AI, and there's so much more.
So much.
So to recap, we have AI as the broad concept, machine learning as a way of AI to learn, and deep learning as a more sophisticated method of machine learning using neural networks. Are there any other fundamental concept we should touch on for our listeners?
Yeah, so definitely when it comes to AI, I cannot stress this enough. We talked about data earlier, and data is everything when it comes to AI. And any messy, small, and incorrect data, any feature that's not labeled, every single thing that is going to affect the quality of your data. So essentially, if you don't have a great quantity or great quality of data, it can lead to two things: overfitting or underfitting. So originally, overfitting actually is when the AI, the training data, is actually memorizing everything. So it cannot handle any new information. So a great example of this will be when a student who only remembers the practice questions that a teacher gives them, and then they go on a test and realize, well, those practice questions are not on the test, so therefore they failed.
I've failed many of those because of that.
Exactly. I also have failed plenty because of that too. And then it's underfitting, so that's when the data really doesn't learn enough information, or the AI, didn't learn enough data from the training data or the data set.
That makes perfect sense. In other words, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, definitely.
So this also reminds me of during the time when I did programming, and when we had to do conversion of databases, and we always have to go through this data scrubbing. And this is not the first time I've heard garbage in, garbage out. For we are seeing how that information was entered into the system, so we were getting wrong calculation.
Right.
So they see that AI actually is about the same way. It reminds me of this image of baking an AI cake. So we have the ingredients. We have the ingredient, which is the data, and then we also have the recipe, which is the algorithm. So once we have the data and we have the recipe, we can make one of the best and perfect AI cakes. So this is fantastic information. This is I'm so excited about this topic, and I do hope our listeners try to learn as much as they can from us as we try to demystify that. So, are there any foundational information before we wrap up that we would like to share with our listeners? Any resources that you think, or books that you think that they can learn?
So yes, so definitely there's many resources and things that they can go for. The first one is Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order by Kai-Fu Lee. And then the next one is Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence by Max Tegmark.
There are two excellent books that I totally recommend that they begin to read. But if you check below at our YouTube page, we will post a few of the books there that you can look at. Our listeners can learn more about the AI. So they are an excellent suggestion. Well, definitely we will include those
Right.
to learn more about. These are great advice. We have been hearing about AI. It has been an insightful conversation. We learned so much about the different groundwork. We learned about analogies of baking cake. We hear about deep learning. We heard about machine learning. We hear so many different facets. We know that this is just touching. We are not even scraping the depth of what we can learn about AI. So we will have future episodes to discuss more about AI. We just want to give the introductory interest to AI. So I'm looking forward to laying the groundwork to move forward with this conversation. So are there any other thing that you would like to add for our listeners?
Yes, I think the main thing for me is education is key. We know that AI has been here for a very, very long time, and it's not going nowhere. It's really, honestly, not going nowhere. So the best thing for anyone can do is to educate themselves on AI, actually understand how it works, because it's not mystified. It's not a mystery. So you can't just make something and say, "Oh my gosh, it's here, it's AI." It doesn't work like that. It has to be a process, and like it says, data is the key. So educate yourself, learn more about it, watch things on YouTube. There are courses that you can take to help you understand how AI works, so that you will be able to understand and better help yourself too when it comes to, and educate others. Yeah.
That is great advice. This has been your episode of CyberAlert Podcast. I'm your host, Sherwin Evans, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, brilliant cyber girl, Alea Evans. Until next time, we said to stay informed, stay safe in this digital world, and we will catch you next time. So stay tuned for the next episode.